Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Talking Chronos. Today we're going to take a look at one of my favorite timepieces, the OMEGA Seamaster 300M Professional. And I'm super happy to share this with you guys. Let's go ahead and talk about the history really quick. The Seamaster is the longest running product line in the OMEGA lineup. Originally produced in 1948 for the British Navy, the Seamaster marked the first use of the O-ring gasket for water resistance by OMEGA. In 1993, OMEGA introduced this new dive watch which is intended to compete with the all-time king of the category, the Rolex Submariner. In 1995, Goldeneye costume director Lyndon Hemming decided to give James Bond, portrayed by Pierce Brosnan, an OMEGA in that film and not a Rolex, as Ian Fleming had described Bond as wearing in the original 007 novels because her father had served in the Royal Navy during that time. Seamasters were standard issue. The resulting publicity made this watch instantly iconic and one of the best-selling watches of all time. Alright guys, so here's my OMEGA Seamaster 300M. This watch can now be considered a vintage timepiece, and watch enthusiasts are very familiar with it. There are many new incarnations of the Bond Seamaster, but I personally still like the original version the best. Please keep in mind that the watch that was worn by Pierce Brosnan in 007 actually was a quartz version. This is the automatic version. You know that because it says chronometer on the dial. Alright guys, so I want to do a little throwback and nostalgia here. If you guys are a product of the 90s like me, you've probably spent countless hours playing Nintendo 64 in front of your television screens with your buddies. And I grew up always playing this game. I grew up watching the movies. And Rare did an exceptional job. If you look at this screen here, they actually incorporated the OMEGA Seamaster into the game. Although the bezel itself is black, you can see the skeletonized hands, you can see the scallop bezel, the bracelet even looks like it. So this is a really cool throwback and I just thought you guys might enjoy this. Alright guys, so let's go over the specs of this watch real quick. This is my OMEGA Seamaster 300M Professional. Reference number 2531.80.00. The case diameter is 41 millimeters, lugs are 20 millimeters. Both the case and the bracelet are stainless steel. It has a blue wave dial and it has a domed sapphire crystal, which is scratch resistant. It has an AR coating. It has a water resistance of 300 meters or 1,000 feet. And it features the automatic caliber OMEGA 1120, which is a modified ETA 2892 with a power reserve of 44 hours. It has Superluminova on the hour marker, skeleton hands, and pip. The case thickness is 12 millimeters. It has a Helium escape valve, a screw down crown, and a unidirectional 120 click rotating bezel. Alright guys, let's do some ASMR and listen to this clicky bezel. Let's go over the specs of this watch in just a little bit more detail. The crystal is made from sapphire and won't scratch unless you throw a rock at it. Its ability to resist scratches makes the crystal a cinch to clean and read. I say one thing I have a gripe on is that maybe the AR coating isn't just as good as some of the modern watches, but that's okay. The case is really sleek and quite aeronautical looking. I mean, just look at this thing. It's very thin as far as its profile. It looks really nice and fits comfortably on the wrist here. The lugs fit snugly into the case and give the watch a seamless appearance. The crown is extremely easy to turn and has the OMEGA symbol stamped on it, and it has that same OMEGA stamp on the Helium escape valve. I'll get you guys a close-up shot here. So the Helium release valve is really a nice conversation starter, and people ask me what it's for all the time. To anyone consider buying this watch, please keep in mind that this feature is pretty much useless unless you plan on really using this for diving and going into a diving bell or decompression chamber, or maybe if you're James Bond. One of my favorite features is this stainless steel bezel and how it patinas. It ages beautifully and makes the watch look more sporty. The blue bezel really makes the watch look like a diver's tool, and I love the iridescent effect in the sunlight. Let's talk about the dial and hands here. So it's really tough to capture, but the wave design is really something unique and why I think people love the design of this watch so much. The design only shows up in certain lighting conditions, making it a nice feature that's not jammed down your throat. The dial is actually a dark navy blue, but almost looks charcoal or black in most conditions. The text, the hour markers, the indices, and the frame window around the 3 o'clock position around the date are printed versus applied on the modern iterations. The skeleton hands, in my opinion, are really quite attractive. The red tip at the end of the second hand is really eye-catching, and the hour markers are also very well designed too. So let's talk about the bracelet here. Design-wise, cosmetically, this thing is a classic. When you see it, you know it's an OMEGA Seamaster. First of all, there actually is no taper to this bracelet. The bracelet is ahead of its time when you compare it to a Rolex Seamaster in its era, and it's superior in that sense. It has a 5-link design and wears very comfortably on the wrist. The push button clasp has a slim profile and works beautifully. It also has a diver's extension and it snaps really nicely, and again, very comfortable on the wrist. A few cons about this bracelet for me is the fact that it uses push pins instead of screws, and that is just a cost-cutting measure. It's also very difficult to get sized correctly and lacks any type of micro adjustment in the clasps. Those are my only gripes I have about this bracelet. The movement within is the Omega Caliber 1120, which is COSC certified. It's based off a modified ETA 2892, which is a battle-tested movement, and it's accurate, durable, and the second hand sweeps very nicely. It's a great, reliable movement, and it's easily serviceable by any watchmaker or Omega. The accuracy is impeccable. It's one of my favorite things about this watch. It has a 44-hour power reserve, which isn't anything to boast about by today's standards, but it is very common for watches of this era. So the lume on this watch is excellent and it's super bright. I'm gonna hit it real quick with the UV light so you guys can check it out. Just look how it reacts, man. Look how bright that lume illuminates. You can see all the details of the hour markers, the skeletonized hands, and the pit very clearly. Everything just looks amazing, and really for the watch's age, this thing is superb. Let's do the same thing so you guys can see it in the complete dark. Alright, you definitely won't have any issues seeing this underwater, man. Look how clear everything looks. Alright guys, let's briefly go over how to set the watch. So you want to go with the screw down crown, go counterclockwise. First position is to wind the watch. It actually winds very beautifully and has really great feedback. Your second position, set the date. And the third position has hacking seconds and allows you to set the time. And when you're done, you just screw it back in. Make sure it's nice and tight, and that's it. And you also have the Helium escape valve. Same thing, this is probably never going to be used unless you're going to go diving. But same thing, you just want to release it to release the pressure and screw it down when you're done. Just make sure everything's nice and tight. All right guys, so let's just do a little more detailed look at the watch. So here you have a beautiful blue aluminum bezel which catches the light beautifully. You have the blue wave dial, you have the scallop bezel. Here's the case profile, which is nice and thin, very comfortable to wear. The Helium escape valve. There you have a good look at the bracelet and the clasp. Let's just open it, and behind here is that Seamaster seahorse and the wave pattern. All right guys, so let's get this on the wrist. And for those of you wondering, I have a 7-inch wrist, and just look how beautiful this thing looks, man. I think it looks sick on the wrist. And it's actually my go-to. It's really one of my dailies that I wear almost every single day. So this watch is super versatile and it has a 20mm lug size. There are a lot of different bracelet and strap options out there for this. I've changed this out myself, and my personal favorite is the Forstner 1450 President style bracelet, as you can see here. Go ahead and check out the link above for more info. My current favorite rubber strap is my Monstrap Hybrid FKM rubber strap, and you can also go ahead and check out the link above for more info. Unfortunately, you can't buy this new anymore, and it's hard to believe that this watch is almost 30 years old. So what are your options if you want to buy a new one? If you're looking to purchase one of these pieces, your only option is going to be going to the used market. Luckily, there are a lot of these watches available, and you can find pieces that are either reconditioned like new or worn in love like mine from anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000 in today's market. The value here really can't be beat. It's really a gateway into a great Swiss luxury watch with history and pedigree. You get a fine timepiece that competes with the Rolex Seamaster for more than half the price, and it's a beautiful piece to add to any collection. Being a fan too, I like wearing James Bond's choice, but that's not the reason why I enjoy this watch so much. The OMEGA Seamaster Professional is my choice because I can't imagine wearing anything else. So what do you guys think of the OMEGA Seamaster 300M? Do you own one? And if so, which model and what colorway are you rocking? Either way, let me know in the comments below. I would love to know what you guys have on your wrist or what's in your collection. Thanks again for tuning in. If you've enjoyed this video, please make sure to subscribe, like, and comment. It really does help the channel out, and make sure to check out some of these other videos. Thanks again, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.